So if your Oregon land has been sitting on the market for, say, 6 months or 12 months or longer, I want to talk to you today, okay? Because in most cases, the problem isn't the land. It's one of four fixable things. And, once you know what they are, you can usually turn a stalled listing into a closed sale. So I'm Al Cronemiller, Oregon land specialist with MORE Realty in Salem, Oregon. I've been selling Oregon bare land, EFU farmland, and timberland for over 20 years. I started working timber with my dad at the age of 12. We were cruising timber, running property lines, and building logging roads on my summer vacations. So I've seen every reason land doesn't sell, and I've fixed most of them. So the number one reason I would say is the wrong price. It's the number one reason Oregon bare land doesn't sell is the price. Okay, not because the seller's greedy, but because bare land is genuinely difficult to price, without specific expertise. So a residential agent, uses comps, and land doesn't work that way. Two parcels, say a mile apart, can differ a couple $100,000 based on water rights, soil classification, timber volume, road access, UGB proximity. So if your land was priced by someone without deep Oregon land experience, there's a good chance, it's sitting because of the wrong number. And also wrong buyer pool. Oregon bare land has a specific buyer pool. It's not the same people buying houses. It's farmers looking to expand, timber investors, 1031 exchange buyers, hunting and recreation buyers, development speculators near, UGBs, and conservation buyers. So if your listing agent is marketing your land to residential buyers through the MLS and Zillow alone, you are missing the entire buyer pool. So Oregon bare land needs to be in front of land investors, agricultural buyers, and timber companies, not people looking for a 3-bedroom house. Okay, the reason three is missing information. Okay, land buyers need specific information to make an offer. They need to know what's the zoning, is it EFU, timber or rural residential, what are the water rights, is there a well, what's the road access situation, is it deeded, easement, landlocked, what is the soil type, and farm deferral status, what is the timber volume if applicable, is there a timber cruise? So if you're listing and missing these answers, buyers move on. They don't call to ask, they just skip it and go to the next one. So the reason number 4 is basically a wrong agent. Oregon bare land is a specialty, so it requires knowledge of VFU zoning, water rights law, timber cruising, farm deferral, conservation easements, UGB dynamics, and a buyer network that takes years to build. So if your current listing agent primarily sells residential property, that's probably why it hasn't sold. So if your land's been sitting, call me. I'll tell you honestly what I think the problem is, even if it's the price, even if I'm not the right fit. I'll tell you the truth. I'm Al Cronemiller, Oregon land specialist at MORE Realty in Salem, Oregon. My number is 503-949-5025. Give me a call. I always answer.